being a photographer, being an artist is sort of a lonely profession.
Yep.
Especially if you're, like a painter. You paint and then
Yeah.
you don't really have colleagues. You have to put yourself out there. But the Frame Center's created a space where we can all show up.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited you're back, Kaitlyn.
Thanks for having me.
I think that this is the perfect segue for the return of the Frame Center podcast, now known as the Inside the Frame podcast.
Oh, I like that.
We had an awesome event last Thursday.
Yeah.
I think it was awesome to see all the people there.
I have to be honest, I was overwhelmed. You
looked overwhelmed.
I didn't hide it that well.
You looked overwhelmed in a good way.
In a good way. Okay, thanks. Good recovery, Dave.
There was, I thought I saw a couple times I came up because I was doing laps.
Yeah.
And a couple times I came up and you just looked like you were emotional.
It was actually really emotional because you put something out there like this and you don't know. Like there was no true RSVP.
Yep.
It wasn't like a plated dinner where you knew how many people were coming. I mean, it was what it was, and it was a little bit surprising.
Yeah.
In a great way, in the greatest way.
Yep.
That so many people showed up.
No, there was, full house.
Yep.
I'm sure we probably even lost a few, probably people that pulled up and were like, couldn't find a place to park and were like, all right, well, I'll check this out later.
My mother-in-law had pulled in and she was parked and she's like, I'm so sorry, I have to go. My sister-in-law was waiting for her spot.
Yeah.
So she pulled out, my sister-in-law pulled in, so it was people waiting and the rain wasn't keeping people away, and I think it's just a testament to the what we were trying to do and what we were trying to tell and spread this word about unmasking people and telling them that it's okay, that it's okay to be you.
Yeah, it's a weird. We were talking earlier. I know that part of when we talked the first time about this, and kind of like this whole thing came. The idea was formed. You'd mentioned that with Cam, that sometimes it's almost insulting to say that he looks like a
typical kid.
Yeah, but so there's like a weird balance where that's a good thing / it's a bad thing.
I totally agree with that, and because he's trying to use his therapy and fit in, but also I want him to know that it's okay if he doesn't fit in all the time, because he's okay being him. And the reason that this kind of started was, people say, well, he doesn't look autistic, and it's like, it just devalues him as a person, because he is. It's who he is. It's part of his identity. And I always say, like, that's like saying, well, you don't look like you have anxiety, meaning I work through that every day. Yeah. And I do a lot of work on myself, and same with Cam. He works on it. But I want him to know that if he needs to tap his leg or, make a funny noise or, do whatever, that's okay, because that's his coping mechanism. And I think the point of the project was to show that, it's okay if you see somebody that's doing that. They're trying to regulate themselves. They're feeling dysregulated in, whatever environment they're in. Yeah,
there was a lot of people having fun and happy to be here. Yeah. It was awesome to see. I know that Tom grabbed they were getting pictures taken with there's pictures with the pictures.
Yes.
I know that my guy Scotty got some of those shots as well.
It was so cool to see that, and for me, it was seeing them standing next to their photo, so proud.
You're proud of who they are. Yeah. No, I got that same feeling, and it was like that was one of the things that felt really good about the whole event. And I don't think I really this was last year this time when we were talking about it, when you were involved with a different organization and bringing awareness to autism. I thought it was a great idea, but I think that was one of the things I didn't consider was how are people going to feel about having their pictures taken in an artistic form and be like all of a sudden, because each one of those people is now a spokesperson for autism awareness.
They were thrust into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had to make sure that they knew that, that they were fully comfortable with, first of all, being photographed, being put on display, being almost exposed to their neurodiversity. And I was very upfront with everybody and said, you know, you have to know that you might be questioned or you might be recognized.
Yep.
And they were cool. I think that they felt comfortable with the platform.
Yep.
And I think that, and they had a place to be proud of it. And this place is very safe.
Yep.
You know, it wasn't strangers really, even though they didn't know everybody. It was cool to see everybody photographed showed up.
Yep. That was on my list of things to ask you. If
I'm thinking there was one person, and it's Blake with the blue eyes and the basketball hoop. He got the stomach bug.
Yep.
So it was not a.
Yep.
It wasn't like I don't want to go. It was he was sick.
Yep.
But every person came.
Yeah.
And they were all proud, and they were all, you know, I think they felt comfortable finally having like a platform.
Yeah.
To stand on.
I mean, I think that that's like a really cool thing. It's important to remember that art is like a good, you know.
Mm-hmm. It's a good medium.
It's a good, and it's a good way to, to show ideas and to, a good way to, give people a voice that don't necessarily,
And that was the other thing I tried to do as well. I know it's Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month, however you want to say it. Both are acceptable.
Yep.
But I tried to get people with different neurodiversities too.
Yep.
So ADD, ADHD. We have a beautiful little girl, Avery, who has selective mutism. That's a neurodiversity. My other son, Nathan, has ARFID, which is avoidant food restrictive intake disorder. That's a multiple. And that's a neurodiversity. And I actually learned that doing research for this project.
Yep.
I was like, oh my God, he's neurodiverse as well. It's a psychological, misfire with food.
Yep. I saw that on the lists of some of. I'm trying to remember which person it was. It was a boy, I think.
Yeah, Nate.
Nate
through the soccer, through the soccer net, and just trying to show that yes, it is autism, but there's also other little neurodiversities. And one young man was diagnosed so long ago that he's diagnosed with Asperger's, and they don't diagnose that anymore. That's
really?
It's now called like level 2 autism, I believe. But I put that as his thing because that's formally his diagnosis.
Yep.
So what I was trying to do with that was to have everybody that came to have a person they could maybe identify with.
Yep.
And say, well, oh, geez, I have ADD, or I feel that way, or I have anxiety.
Yep. Yeah, I think you nailed it.
Thanks,
I think that the little
Dave.
story, I think that the little 5x7 cards that would be in place of like a title, obviously the photographs, the names of the people's, and nice title, but like that story there.
Those were hard to write, actually.
Were they?
Because I didn't want to. I didn't want to say something that was maybe because I like kind of interviewed each person and talked to them, but I didn't want to like divulge anything to them that maybe they thought was private, but I didn't think was private. So I was kind of careful with that, and also don't mind any typos on there. I'm just a tired mom,
Yeah.
But
I think that we've caught a couple, but
it's fine. Listen.
That's
that's
part of it.
My sister texted me. She's a teacher, and her thing is like grammar, and it's like a deal breaker for if you're grammatically incorrect.
Yep.
And she's like, Kaitlyn, I got to talk to you about Kelly's. I said, oh, did you like that because Kelly's a mother and you connected with that? She's like, there's a typo. I go, that was your takeaway from this whole show? And she's like, no, I love the show, but can we fix that? Like she was like so hung up on it. But I thought it was just really cool to tell the stories. And there was one story that I really, really struggled with. And it was Dylan. And he said that he thinks people hate him.
Yep.
And I typed that and erased that probably 10 times.
Yep.
But in the end, I kept it.
Yep.
Because I thought it was important, because that's actually something my son has said to me. People don't like me. I'm weird. I'm different. And I thought, even if somebody comes in here and doesn't have a neurodiversity, I think we've all felt that.
Yeah,
that,
absolutely.
do they like me? It's like that self-awareness thing. And in the end, I'm glad I kept it, even though that was a hard one, because he was saying, people hate me. It's not true.
Yep.
He's a sweet little thing, but
it is how
it's how he feels.
Yeah.
And I think that was important to show, how he felt.
Yeah, I think that those little cards made it very relatable.
Yeah.
And I think that I've taken a bunch of people through already.
Which is so cool that people came back.
Yeah, people come back. There's people. I try to get the staff to engage. People that they're helping, and know that there's an exhibition upstairs, so they can, one, it's a good way to go upstairs and kill some time while you're waiting for your favorite framer to
Yeah.
finish up with somebody else, or two. But you're already here.
Yeah.
Most of the people are are interested in art. A lot of our clientele are artists. A lot of our or they're involved. So seeing that, like, the artistic statement of this show and what it does for the community, I think is
And this is different for you guys, right? This is like
this
a
is
little.
I mean, usually it's just art.
Yeah.
And I think that this seemed like a really good idea to me when we talked last year.
Yeah.
I want to do more shows like this because it's much like the pictures are your voice. Like, this space is kind of like our opportunity to to help.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure what how we do that, but I feel like just being here the other night and seeing everybody in the space and happy and
since this, several people have reached out to me and they're like, "Can we do Unmasked 2.0?" I was like, "Oh my God, I'm still recovering from Unmasked," But now that people are seeing it, they are saying like, "Oh, okay, like it's safe.
Yeah,
it's a safe place. It's a platform to show who they are."
Yep.
There was a couple of people that said that. They're like, "Well, I'll do it." And my sister-in-law's mom and dad were here, and their son is autistic, but he's like an expert skier.
Yep.
I was like, "Well, you could take me to Steamboat. I'll come out. I'll photograph him. Like, that would be cool. Like, that would be a fun one."
Yeah.
And that was the other thing I tried to do with each photo I let the subject pick the location.
Yep. So they were very involved in the
the
shoots.
Which at some point I'm like, "Oh my God, where am I driving to?"
Yeah.
Like I'm driving like hours away. I don't know where I am.
This isn't the selection of like which beach I want my like for the senior portraits.
Exactly. We can be at Wrexham or Green Harbor.
Yeah.
But each person wanted to show who they are, and back to the cards, I made sure that the first thing, it said their name and their age. But the next thing was the things that they are outside of their diagnosis.
Yep.
So Cam, my son, was, a gamer and a YouTuber and a book lover and all these things. And then it said his diagnosis. So that that was intentional.
Yeah.
So that you could see the person first.
Yep.
And not their,
No, and I think it nailed it,
Thanks.
too. I mean, I when I was, walking through, I read Kelly's and, and I shot her, a message, shortly thereafter. It's, it's super touching, super emotional.
Yeah.
That's why I think I noticed the emotions in your.
Kelly was an interesting one because she had a lot. Her interview was really long.
Yep.
Because she
cares.
Because she cares. Because it's Kelly. No.
Yes.
But she was interesting because she was talking about, why she likes working here.
Yep.
And she's like, it's safe for me here. I can be a mom here. She brings Meadow, and I think that's.
She brings Mary
it.
too.
She brings Mary.
Mary was running the show.
Oh my God, that was so funny. But she was really open about saying like she likes it here. It's predictable. It's she knows a start and an end.
Yep.
But in contrast to that, being a mom is so unpredictable, and there's no start and end to being a mom. It just goes on forever.
Yep.
And that's hard for her.
Yeah. Oh,
and, I was so glad that she agreed to do it because I think it's hard for women. It's hard for women to be a mom, but also I think it's hard for women to put themselves out there like that. And for her to say, I want to be photographed with Meadow because when she's a mom, it's the only time she doesn't mask.
Yep.
And I was like, wow, that's like a big deal.
Yeah.
That's a huge deal for her to like be that self-aware.
Yep.
And I think whether you're neurodiverse or not, you can identify with her and the struggles of just being a parent.
Yeah.
And it was hard to find adult women.
Yep.
You notice that the show has a lot of kids.
Yep.
And so I'm hoping that, I don't know where this project will go. I hope to continue it in some capacity, but I'd love to see more adults.
Yeah.
And grandparents maybe that say, I'm not diagnosed, but I think I am, or whatever.
Well, the space
don't be afraid.
The space is here. And
good. We'll fill every
wall. And I think that, I think that we were talking about community, and I think that, it was nice to see all the support, but the space is here, and you can reach out to a big part of our community, Dina, like putting it all together.
Dina's the
I thought
best.
she did great. I'll have a
shout out to
conversation
Dina.
with. I'll have a conversation with her. So whatever,
Yeah.
if you decide to go with 2.0, or we'll block off the month of month of April.
But does that mean I have to run another marathon?
I
God.
don't. You can handle it. She might require that.
She might.
Yeah.
Might. Well, it's funny you talk about that community because other artists showed up.
Yep.
Pam Copeman was here.
Yep.
Cal Mahoney.
Yep.
Is it Dina Miller? I think it's Dina. I think that's her name. Or Diane Miller. I apologize, I can't remember her name.
Yep.
But being a photographer, being an artist is sort of a lonely profession.
Yep.
Especially if you're, like a painter. You paint and then you don't really have colleagues. You have to put yourself out there. But the Frame Center's created a space where we can all show up.
Yeah.
And I thought that was cool.
I think everything, it's a community is a big part of this place. And, we're lucky to be like, in some aspects, like, the center of it. So it's
so cool. And I was even saying to, I think it was Kel, like, I've never really considered myself an artist, I guess. But you guys kind of helped me to, like, take that label on, which is kind of cool. And to be among other artists and, to see Cal Mahoney walk up the stairs, who's a photographer I highly regard.
And and I think he was also very, he was very honored. He was mentioned. And,
I mentioned him
that
in
you
my
were
book.
an inspiration. To him.
He is, because it's like he. I always say, how does Kel always find all the whales? Like, what does he? Does he have like a walkie-talkie with them or something? Like, how does he get all the whales to come and, to take photos of them? But he texted me later on. He's like, I can't believe that you look up to me, kind of. And I was like, yeah, I do. I think you're an amazing photographer, and the way you. And he's like, but you capture people.
Yep.
In the same way I think I capture other things.
Yeah.
And I'm good at people. I'm
good
at
you
I'm
are.
Good at
you
doing
can
people.
see that, and you could see. I wanted to ask you about what your relationship was with all these people that were here. If you knew them all, like some of them, but it seemed like it's. I think you're very approachable, and
Thanks.
You shot my picture with my family on the stairs, and literally.
Yeah, we are
felt
4 years later.
Yeah, but I feel, but I felt like you were super approachable. That's probably one of the reasons why you're trying to get me back on the stairs.
Yeah, like, Dave, go away. It's COVID.
But I think you're very approachable, and like you can see that you connect with the subjects, and there's like I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that you probably know a little bit about each one of those people.
I do,
and their
and it was hard because I know personally probably, I think there's 20 people. Mm-hmm. I don't know, half.
Yep.
I would say maybe half.
You had a relationship with.
That had a previous relationship. But when I say a previous relationship, meaning like maybe I've taken their photos before. Yeah. They're not, besides Cam, who I'm, my son, and Nathan, my other son, but a lot of them were cold. Yep. Just cold calls. And so Chris, who is the environmentalist, he goes to Antioch. Yep. I'm running the Berlin Marathon with his mom.
No kidding.
So that's how I got connected with him.
Yep.
And the Flutie Foundation connected us through the WhatsApp. Yep. And we all kind of were going back and forth on how we're fundraising. And I said, well, this is what I'm doing. Yep. So Chris's mom, Meg, reached out to me and was like, my son, I think he would be a great subject. Mm-hmm. And so I drove to very far away. I don't even know. I was in like this field on site with him. He was doing a project to create a pollinating field. Mm-hmm. So I was out there with him for like an hour. And we just talked. Yep. And he told his mom later that he like loved it, and he felt so special and so like, like seen. You know. So he was a cold one. Blake, the little boy with the blue eyes, I know his mom and dad, but I don't know him. Yep. So what I did was I played a basketball game with him. Yeah. So I just played.
Who won?
He did. He kicked my butt. I'm now a runner, not a basketball player anymore.
Well, you got height over him,
I got a little height, but the kid's got moves. The kid can move. But most people, what I do, and this is true no matter what I do for any photographs, is I put down my camera and I talk to the people. Yep. I talk to them, and photo shoots are really hard on kids. Mm-hmm. They're expected to wear clothes they don't want to wear, show up to a place that's unfamiliar maybe.
Yep.
Sit and look and smile and perform. So I always say to the parents, like, if this is like a mini session, just tell me if your kid's gonna need some more time. I'll just block it out. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
It'll still be a mini session, but maybe we run on the beach, or I have more races on the beach with kids, or we just play, or we look at rocks, or whatever, and it creates this comfort. And I think that that's what people see in my photos. Maybe is this comfort.
And I think that I think it's because your approach. It's not like this random person behind the camera, just like and having another person shoot through. I mean, when my Michael asked me a couple of years ago, who he wanted somebody, and he's an artist, so he he wanted, and he wanted he knows that it's about the connection between the person taking the picture and the person having their picture taken, and he knows that that's important. Like his daughter's not going to sit there and be captured the way he wanted it to be without being comfortable with who's taking the picture. If it's
I think that's even more rings a little bit more true with this project, because inherently, somebody with a neurodiversity could be socially awkward or just, nervous anyway. And you just have to come at it just from I don't know. It's hard to articulate because it's just who I am.
Yeah, no, I think it is.
But I just talk to people like they're people. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of neurodiversity. I'm not afraid of, if somebody, was making a loud noise or just doesn't make, continued eye contact with me. That doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, the behavior isn't typical.
The behavior, it doesn't matter.
But some of those, so Noah was.
Oh, Noah.
I get the chance,
Did you hire him? The kid's great.
Probably.
You have to
wait
get in
till
line
he comes
because he's
back.
hired at the farm. Oh my God.
He was amazing. He was walking.
He's amazing.
He was, it was funny because Kelly, the Pied Piper of a number of people, and she's having a conversation with him, and he's picking up every little small detail, things that are kind of hidden out front, and he's asking, what's he, 12 years?
He's 12. Yeah.
I mean, the questions that he was asking regarding framing were,
his mom texted me. She's like, Noah
level.
got a tour of the frame center. I go, I am 0% surprised about that.
Yep.
That surprises me. Not at all. That he was the mayor in here. Yeah. And he's an interesting story because he's one of the ones I've actually known since he was 4. And I've told this to his mom that I thought he was diagnosed at 4 years old. He was just diagnosed a few years ago. Okay. And I've always had this connection with him. And I think it's just being patient with him. And he used to come into the photo shoots, and I'd have this scene set up. He would rearrange the entire thing. Yep. So I knew Noah couldn't have a 15-minute session. Noah needed a 45-minute session. And he would move things around, and he, didn't want certain props. And him and I have just had this connection since day one. But he was photographed at my uncle's little farm. And I was nervous, I don't know. He was like Old MacDonald on that farm. Yeah. He came out holding a duck, and I was like, Noah, what? He's like, it's fine, Kaitlyn. He told me all about the duck, and he let the duck kind of fly away, and I just looked at his mom, and my uncle even was like, I'll hire him. Yeah. So Noah's got a little job at the farm now, and
nice.
He was fearless, but he was really connected through these animals. Yep. In a way that I've never seen him because we've never done a photo shoot on a farm before. Yeah. But he was almost like the way I picture my son when he's gaming. It's like he's calm. Yep. And it was really a testament to why I let the subject, guide the location. Yep. Like the karate dojo, or David was photographed at the Taunton area community table where he volunteers.
Is that the one
in the
with
kitchen?
The pot?
Yeah,
yes,
yes. And he's the governor over there. But that's where he's comfortable. That's where he likes to be. Yep. He is welcomed there. Or it's on the basketball court, or it's, in front of their gaming setup. Yep.
I think I was... not knowing what the subjects were until you started, so we started framing the pictures. I was surprised that there was more adults, and I thought that was, really cool. You know, I thought that it was nice to seeing the teacher and seeing the people. Yeah,
Oh, Mr. Landry.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was hesitant to participate at first. I texted him. I cold texted him, the poor guy. I got his number through another teacher.
Yep.
And I told him who I was, and he said, "Let me think about it."
Yep.
And
I think that was a good one. I mean, that's so relatable and so
relatable. And his little blurb.
Yep.
You know, he said being different is difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why that just stuck with me, because the world's hard.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard out there. And imagine being neurodiverse or having other things that you're up against anyway in a hard world. And he said that, you know, he's highly educated. He went to Emmanuel and I think Fitchburg State and has a master's in education. And he is a co-teacher still.
Mm-hmm.
And he feels like he gets passed up on opportunities because he's autistic.
Yeah. I didn't realize he was a co-teacher. So Still, yeah.
And he wants to have his own classroom and wants to do that. And again, that was a little story I struggled to type too, because I didn't want to out him. I didn't want to but he was cool. Like, he stood very proudly next to that photo.
He did.
He's actually in the video.
I think he was one of the first ones here, and he was one of the one of the last to leave.
Go.
And I think there was I just saw the response between some of the other people that of the large group of people that were here, and they were excited to see him. He's
actually,
a coach too, right?
He's a football coach. He's a volunteer. He's a teacher. He really is. I think his thing even says community leader. Because he's a podcaster. He's really cool. And what I liked was Jeff Grantino, the superintendent of schools in Marshfield, showed up to support him. And I think that's a big deal.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think
it's a big deal.
I mean, there was a lot of people, the community around some of these individuals, the community around you. I mean, I think that's a big part of the reason why there were so many people here. The community of people that are artists that were here. That we've been talking up the show. We pushed it on social media. I mean, I think there was a lot of people that wanted to see what it was.
And even people said, I'm sorry I missed it. I'm like, it runs the whole month.
Yep.
It's here. Come by. Look at the photos. And people had asked me, can kids come? I said, I want kids there.
Yeah.
Because these are their peers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where a lot of these kids struggle, is socially. And this is a big time of their lives where they're developing friendships and developing those skills that, make them a good friend. And it's hard for them.
Yep.
It's hard for them. I know my son struggles with that. And this year he actually has, a good little group of friends. And he actually developed those friends through his YouTube channel.
Yep.
And the kids at school are like, Cam, play with me and put me on your YouTube channel. It made him, he found his way to connect with people.
Yep.
And, I think that was what was cool too about Laurel at the karate dojo. That's how she connects with people, or that's where she feels comfortable. And Abby, Cam's best friend, is a gamer too. And they were thrilled to have their little QR code that goes to their gamer.
Yeah, I saw that.
They each got some new subs. So thank you to everybody who subscribed to their channels. They're working really hard to do that. But, those are... think about how our medium is to connect with people, whether it's through art or through school or through work or whatever. These people, this is how they connect. And I hoped that was conveyed through all of the photos, that it wasn't just where they're comfortable, but it's also where they connect with the world.
Yep.
So it was a lot. I mean, traveling around and doing that and still training for the marathon and but you guys,
we should probably mention that.
We should mention the marathon.
That's what all this is.
This is what this is about.
Yep. An opportunity to also raise money for you, for the Flutie Foundation, which you've got nothing but great things to say about.
I love them. I mean, the Flutie Foundation is just an incredible organization, and they obviously it was founded by our local hero, Doug Flutie.
Yep.
And his son, Dougie, is autistic, and it was founded 25 years ago. And all the money goes back into the community for them. It's just an incredible organization. And I ran the half marathon in Disney for them back in November. And that's the photo you'll see, me
Yep.
running.
Get the ears on.
And I did get a free frame Friday on that one.
Yep.
And that photo, I am so proud of that photo because that was not early miles.
Yep.
That was like late miles. And I was huffing along. And
you look happy.
I might have photoshopped it. No, I'm just kidding. But it was, I even like the guy behind me in the photo. He's like, running along. And so I've always wanted to run a marathon by the time I was 40. And I just turned 40 in November. And I missed the bib for Boston, which I'm a little glad about because Boston's a beast.
Yep.
And it's hard. And it's hills, and I don't love hills.
Yep.
So the Flutie Foundation reached out to me, and they said, "Do you want to run the marathon?" And I said, "Boston." And they were like, "How about Berlin?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Germany?" And I took a beat, and I was like, yeah, I'll do that. And it's an opportunity to do what I love, which is travel.
Yep.
And also to run a marathon by the time I'm 40. So I'll have run it.
Yep.
September 29th is the marathon in Germany, and an opportunity to raise money for them.
Yep.
So the Unmasked project on Thursday night raised $2,000, and thanks to your bowling.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bowling. The Richardson Insurance bowling tournament.
Yes.
We needed to we wanted to be a part of it, and
which is amazing.
And everybody bowls for a fundraiser or for a charity, and it seemed very appropriate because it was just a few weeks ago, and we were hosting this event, so that
was awesome.
Like
so through that, you guys came in second
place.
Second place.
We'll, next year maybe we'll do better.
Next year we'll do first. It's fine.
We'll train a little bit harder.
You got to train, Dave.
Yeah.
But it was $750, which is huge.
Yep.
I mean, that's a huge amount of money for the Flutie Foundation. And I was like, I need to make sure that I get credit for that because I need my little thermometer to rise. But even after the show, like donations are coming in, and I was really so humbled. And
you look at some of the posts. I mean, the people that you can feel the emotions in people's comments, and talking about how how special you are to them.
Thanks.
And to their into their children, the ones that are
I love
close
them
to the
all.
kids.
I really do. I always say, like, I don't even know if I'm a good photographer, but I love people. And I think that that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
Like, I really do. I enjoy kids. I enjoy people. And it's comfortable for me to just be in a room full of strangers and just talk. And I'll go out to dinner with my sister, and she'll be like, "How many people are we going to know that you know?"
Yep.
And I'm like, "A lot."
Yep.
So because she's very introverted,
Yep.
and she's like, "Oh my God, going out with you is insane because you just know everybody." I'm like, "Well, I like it. I like to connect with people." And I think that, like I said, even through the Flutie Foundation, I was connected with Chris's mom, and and we were texting back and forth, and she's like, I just want to thank you so much for doing this project. And I said, I'm really looking forward to meeting you. Like, I don't know her because people said, "How do you know Chris?" I'm like, I don't.
Yeah.
Well, why are you here? What are you doing? I'm like, friends with his mom now.
Yeah.
And I think everybody's my friend,
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think that, again, to make photography and taking people's portraits a viable business, you got to connect with people, like in everything. I think that we're lucky here too, because it's you're not coming in and just buying a frame. We want to establish those connections, establish friendships and relationships, and I feel like you do that with
Well, I saw it too on Thursday night. My uncle had a gigantic photo that he took framed.
Yep.
And he came in, and Dina was like right up to him. Do you love the frame? And how does it look hanging in your house? And they just chatted back and forth. So it's a relationship.
Yeah.
You don't want to feel like you walked in somewhere or you had a photo shoot with somebody and you felt like, well, that was blah.
No, you want someone that can tell you that you look good in this picture, or that frame looks good with with your artwork, and be able to trust that they're telling you the truth.
Well, people say that to me. They're like, "Well, do you know how to?" I'm like, "I have no idea how to do this. I can take the photo, but to frame something, I'm like, I don't know, black and white. Like, just you guys are so incredible at that. And even the frame that you sent me of my half marathon, it's in this pink.
Yeah, we'll
frame.
match the ears.
It matches the ears, yeah. It's in
what
this,
else would we use?
I mean, don't put it in like gold gilded.
Yeah.
But it's in this pink frame, and it's like kind of hammered. And I was like, that is the perfect perfect frame. I would just put it in a black frame, you know? So it's totally a skill, and to learn about people's, you know, personalities, and, you know, a photo might show something, but what about,
I mean,
you know,
I think
the frame?
people need to, you know, establish like a look, you know, and do you want that look to be exactly like everybody else's?
Yeah.
No. I mean, I think that Dina did a nice job picking out that line, you know, a couple different options for your photographs, for like your artistic shots.
Well, it's funny because you guys, the frame we gave away, the bird, that's actually was taken out in the Burridge in Hanson.
Okay.
And I was with my sister, and this beautiful like crane flew over, and there's only one other person that has that photo, and it's my sister. And we always say, you know, we're so connected, and I always say, well, if you're a bird, I'm a bird. And, you know, I'll do what you do, and you do, you know, we support each other with no limits. And so that's why that frame is called If You're a Bird, I'm a Bird, because I don't want people to feel like they're alone. And you guys had framed that for me, and I loved the frame. It's like almost metallic on the outside, but wood on the inside, and it's just different. It's different than any frame I've ever seen. So that's how we chose to go with that for the whole
it's
whole series.
Nice. And
it's different. It's like not that typical New England wood grain, you know, beech wood look, but it's a really,
well, it has a, you know, it has that, you know, a little bit of a formal look to it, but at the same time it's kind of casual because it has the, you know, the wood on the side.
Exactly.
And we're in a coastal community, so I think that's a very nice
you got to embrace it. If, you know, people say, oh, where should we do our photo shoot? I'm like, you'll probably pick the beach. It's I'll be at the beach 8 days a week. I was actually just out at the beach yesterday with Tom Lehman. And
I saw some
so cool, right?
Yeah. What were you guys shooting for?
We were shooting for the Atlantic Resiliency Institute, which is basically an organization that's new here in the South Shore, that is working on coastal mitigation. So working on coastal flooding. Instead of just saying, oh, I guess Brant Rock floods, they're working on building an institute that is basically like an incubator that helps to figure out real solutions for coastal flooding. Dave and I don't live near the beach in Marshfield, but our friendly neighbors down by the beach, you know, get devastated every time it's, you know, every time it rains. So we were down there, and just like two photography and video nerds, we like came up over the dunes in Wrexham, and we were like, oh my God, the sea was angry that day.
Yeah, it looked like some heavy foam.
The foam was like fluffing in the air, and, you know, it was really fun because I shoot alone. So if I can shoot with like another photographer or another videographer, and not only is it fun to like bounce ideas off each other, but it's, you know, it's good for rogue waves. And in one of the videos, he's like, hey, watch out. You know, the wave was coming in because I had to leave that and go run a 10K. So he's like, you can't get wet, you know, you got to go. But it was really fun. So we're partnered on that. Obviously, I do the photo, he does the video. And it's like, it's all collaboration. Community over competition. That's what I always say to Patty Ann Photography. Community over competition. She's, you know, her and I connect over that, and there's so much to go around, Dave. There's so much.
There is, and you want what's best for this, you know, the subject,
for
right?
The people.
Like,
it
doesn't, you know, I mean, I don't want to make it frame for everybody. If there's a, you know, somebody that has a frame store, maybe that's a better fit for you.
Maybe
go, you know, like go find out. It's not, you know,
or even like when I'm booked, I'll send people, you know, to Patty or Kel or you know, Vanessa Falcone. Like, these are all photographers that I've connected with through the years that if I was going to pick somebody, you know, Abby Del Senor showed up here. She was great. She was the first one in, and you know, she's a colleague and a friend, and, you know, it's a lonely profession. So if you can kind of build a community around it, it just makes it so much better. It's just so much nicer to have people. So I was just humbled by seeing so many photographers show up and other artists.
Back to Kel, I think he's awesome. He's got that new space opening up, and we, you know, talked around some ideas on that, and I'm sure whatever he does, it'll be super creative.
I love it. So he's at Rote Marine now, right?
Which
is even closer to me and us.
But a little bit down
like
the
a mile,
street,
like a mile closer, which is good for my running. Anything that's a little closer. But he was I can't wait to go in and see it. Because I love his stuff. I mean,
he does an awesome job presenting stuff too. I've talked to him on a number of occasions, and whenever I get the chance to. I mean, it's just the way his mind works.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And the way he views things is awesome.
Yeah. And I learned from him
super
too.
creative.
And, he does those workshops where you can like go out and like chase the moon and, chase the sunset. And I was like, that is so cool. And, the privilege that I have of being in business for 10 years is that I can do projects like this now.
Yep.
I can do passion projects. I can go out with, other photographers and do workshops and, do more community stuff because, I've already hustled.
Yeah.
I already did the hustle.
Yeah, and I feel the same way. We can use this space to do things that, like, this is, I'm not, I don't know that much about autism. I don't know, like, I feel like I'm learning from this show being up here and reading about this stuff. And, but I know I like you and I'm happy, and I know it's important to you. And that, like, when we talked last year about it on the podcast, that, this is important to you, getting this out, I want to,
I
do
think
whatever
if one
I can to
person
help,
came in and was able to have their mind changed or to learn something, if just one person, then that's.
I think that it'll be more than that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident that we'll get more word out for this show, and that, a lot of people will see it and, at least like spark some thoughts.
That's all it is. And I in the video that Tom Lehman did, I said, the next time, you go somewhere and somebody's acting differently, I hope that you can reflect back on this show and think, they're probably not giving me a hard time. They might be having a hard time.
Yep.
And, if we could stop saying that people are weird.
Yep.
They're not. They just are processing the world around them in a way that's different than you, not in a bad way or a wrong way, just in a way that is different from what you do.
Yep.
And I've learned so much through my children about that. And, just even learning that, maybe we need to say, put your shoes on 28,000 times before they do it. And, it's just because he's processing the world differently. And he's become so articulate and such a self-advocate where he'll say, Mom, recently he said, Mom, it's really overwhelming for me when you ask me to get dressed, put on my shoes, brush my teeth, get my backpack, and get downstairs. He's like, can you just do it one at a time?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Sure. Okay, Cam, get dressed. And he'll come out. I go, okay, you're dressed. Now brush your teeth.
Yep.
Okay, you brush. It's just a different way of doing things. And, maybe that person's just neurodiverse.
Yep. Yeah. But I mean, it'll make you better with other people too, right? Like, 100%. So when you structure that and you figure out how to like take 5 tasks and go one after the next. Next time you're taking a photo shoot with somebody, that you don't know, and to slow it down and be like,
exactly.
Let's
I've had parents say that to me, like, you're so good with kids. I'm like, well, my son has been in therapy for different kinds of therapy for 8 years. And or more, and I said I just take that and I transfer it to my photography. Like this is supposed to be fun.
Yeah,
we're supposed to be out here. We're supposed to be getting real laughs.
Smile pictures.
Yeah. Or what? A lot of people will come back to me and say, "This is my favorite photo," and it's like an outtake.
Yeah.
One of my friends put the outtake on the back of her Christmas card, and it's her little boy really up close with his tongue sticking out, and the parents are in the background, like and they were like, we were told that people hung our Christmas card backwards because of the photo on the back. And more people come back to me and say, it was those in-betweeners, where the kid is falling or the kid is laughing or whatever, the outtakes. And that's something I do. I give the outtakes because they're not mine.
Yeah.
Once I take a photo, it's yours. You have it, you enjoy it. And all that. And actually, just speaking of Camden's therapists, they showed up too.
Did they?
They did. Yep. Mark Iannucci was here, and Dee Henry, who owns Willow Tree Donuts, donated all those donuts. And Dee was actually one of the first people that said to me, Camden, she believed Camden was exceptional. And just this past summer, he was I don't even know if the word's diagnosed or labeled as twice exceptional. So he's autistic and brilliant. And she was the first person that saw that in him. And so it's like this community of people that if you surround yourself with the right people, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay because this is hard.
Yeah.
Having neurodiverse children is really hard. because there's the same struggles as parenting, but then you've got this other element on top of it. So it was just nice to see those people come in so many years later and, and show up. And Kim Baressa is also one of Cam's, current supports at school. And it was just, I was really, really humbled.
Yeah, no,
by the whole thing.
It was an emotional, eye-opening evening. And then the other one too that I thought was great was it Avery, the one that had the artist.
Avery, my girl. So Avery has selective mutism, and I've been photographing Avery since she was 2.
Yep.
And her mom is a teacher. Actually, they live here in Hanover, and she is a tireless advocate for her children. And she. Avery was probably, 3-4 years old, really little, we were up at Turkey Hill, and it was windy as anything, and come to find out Avery was afraid of the wind, and I was like, oh my God, how are we going to get through this photo shoot? What are we going to do? And so her mom and I always talk about how far she's come, and I said to her at the show that I just appreciated her letting me do this because she has such a different neurodiversity, selective mutism. People might just think, oh, that kid doesn't talk, or that kid is shy. You get that they're shy a lot. And I said to her, ironically, Avery, I think you're going to be a voice for a lot of people.
Yep.
And she just kind of
smiled. She didn't seem shy. I saw her getting her picture taken. She seemed like she was doing good.
Proud. She was really proud. And she is an incredible artist. And since the day that I started photographing her, she always brings me a photo.
Yep.
And her art, and I save all those things.
Yep.
Because somebody took the time to make me something, I save it. And the very first thing she sent me was like a little gingerbread for Christmas when she was 2.
Yep. And
I have it. And then most recently she took a photo, or she drew a picture of me taking a picture of her.
Yep.
So it's like me behind a camera, and it's like face on. And
that's awesome.
That's why I thought it was so cool to showcase her art. Because this eventually could be a place for her.
Yeah.
She's an artist.
Yeah, no, she was very talented. So.
She's super talented, and it's funny because she's a perfectionist, and that photo is very perfect. That drawing.
Yeah.
Very symmetrical, and she chose that one. She didn't know why. She was giving me one of her drawings.
Yep.
And I said, I know it'll be a little different, but can we put her art on display?
Yep. No, I think it's a nice tie-in, and again, it just shows like that personal relationship. It's fun. It's funny. You've been shooting her for so long. We've like framed people's pictures year after year, and it's like you watching them grow up, but you're you're actually involved with them a little bit more, so you're really seeing someone like her grow up. And
it's really cool to see her develop, and she's a dancer, and she loves Taylor Swift, and she's just a regular kid. Just a regular kid, but she has a neurodiversity.
Yep.
And I actually, they were a Free Frame Friday winner because her mom was a teacher, is a teacher, and working through the pandemic, teaching, homeschooling, all of those things. And I was at their house to do that photo shoot, and her frame was, she's like, we'll never take it down.
So I go to people's houses, or, it's funny, like even now, since I grab a lot of the things off social media, and just like you see a post, and then like over in the corner, like, wow, that's that frame that I sent that person.
That's the frame, and people won't take those down.
No,
it was such
important.
A time in life. It was such a funny time, and to give people the gift of a framed photo of that, because most people would just be like, oh, whatever, and it goes in their camera roll on their phone. But the houses that I come to, and when I see my photos printed, when I go to a house, I'm like, oh, who took that? That's pretty good. Because I don't get to see it. I don't get to see it. I give people the photos and
move on.
And move on.
Yep.
But when I go to a house and it's like, I did that, I did that, I did that, I did that. It's been a decade. Some key people I've been taking since they were newborns.
Yep.
So they're 10 years old now, which is like just insane to me.
Yep.
So I'm still 30 though. So 30 and holding.
Well, I think we did a good thing.
Thank you, Dave.
Much more you and Dina than myself. Having the space, just watching it, and I definitely plan to be one of the people that learns more about autism because of this show.
Thank you.
There's the open invitation will whatever Unmasks
2.0.
What that is and when that is, we'll figure out.
Yeah.
The show's on display for the rest of the month.
Mm-hmm.
And if need be, we'll carry it over a little bit longer, if we feel like that we need to have people, give people still the opportunity to come see it. It doesn't have to be Autism Awareness Month to bring awareness to it. So I think it's been a great response. People are, definitely, gonna try to get more people to push it out, and and you got a good team, I have a good team, and we're gonna do that. And hopefully, hopefully it goes somewhere. And the goal was that they all end up, with the subjects at some point. But who knows? Maybe somebody else has a place for it too, so we can continue to show it.
I love that.
Or maybe we have to redo it for another venue.
I mean, that would be amazing. And a couple of people said, what's the goal here? And I said, I'm still reeling from the event a little bit, but I think the goal is to continue it. And I always kind of reference that Faces of New York project. And I think that this is I kind of feel like that could be it. And, having a place not only to see neurodiverse people, but also a place where neurodiverse people can come and feel, a platform or a space where they feel like, this is me, this is who I am, and I'm going to be me.
Well, one of my favorite photographers, Kaitlyn.
My favorite framer,
I'll probably
Dave.
have to get you set something up and maybe get a picture of my kids at some point too.
Well, it's been 4 years. It's
been
some years, so we gotta update that Free Frame Friday, the Front Steps project.
Yes. Well, awesome. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, and
Thanks for
I'm
having
sure
me,
that
Dave.
we'll have many more conversations.
I can't wait. Thanks, Dave.